Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an ancient map of the mind. It's a really incredible framework for understanding the 10 invisible chains that can hold us back, keeping us from a sense of real, genuine inner freedom. You know that feeling, right? Where you feel like you're stuck in a loop, hitting the same emotional walls over and over and over again. It's like something is holding you back, but you just can't quite put your finger on what it is. Well, it turns out there's an ancient teaching that explains this perfectly. It suggests that our heart-mind is bound by 10 invisible chains, or fetters, that literally keep us tied to a cycle of stress and dissatisfaction. And just understanding what these are is the very first step to breaking free. Now, in the original Pali language, these are called Samyojana. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what these 10 fetters are, but more importantly, we're going to explore how this ancient wisdom suggests we can start to untie them one by one.
All right, so our journey begins by going right for the master lock. This is the one fetter that holds all the other chains in place, and it's all about the most fundamental assumption we make about who we are.
So this first and most important fetter is called Sakkaya-ditthi. It's this deeply, deeply held, and as it turns out, mistaken belief that this body is me, and this mind, these thoughts are me. It's an idea we almost never even think to question. And this one single belief is unbelievably powerful. I mean, it's the engine that drives our fear of getting older, our clinging to life, and this constant, exhausting need to protect this me. It's running in the background every single moment, shaping all our reactions, and basically guaranteeing dissatisfaction, because we're always trying to protect something that, by its very nature, can't last.
So how in the world do you break such a fundamental illusion? Well, the teachings offer a really direct, almost scientific method. This isn't about just believing something, it's about seeing clearly for yourself. The idea is to stop seeing the body as one solid thing, and instead to mentally take it apart. To really look at the hair, the skin, the bones, the organs, as just separate components temporarily assembled together.
And this leads to an absolutely profound insight. Because when you mentally take the machine apart, that self, that me we're so busy protecting, well, it's just nowhere to be found. You start to realize it's an idea, a concept that we've mistaken for a solid reality.
What's really cool about this is that when you start to loosen this core belief in I, it creates this amazing domino effect. Unlatching this one master lock automatically starts to break two other chains that are all tangled up with it. So together, these first three are called the lower fetters. Once that core self-view, Sakkaya-ditthi, is weakened, two others begin to unravel. The first is vicikiccha. That's just skeptical doubt, uncertainty about whether this path actually works. And the other is silabbata paramasa, which is a kind of clinging to rules and rituals, hoping they alone will save you, without any real insight.
To put it simply, when you see for yourself that the body is just an impersonal process, like the weather, your doubt just evaporates. Your confidence in the path becomes rock solid, because it's based on something you saw directly, not just something you read or were told. And this right here is the key to hitting that first major milestone of inner freedom.
Okay, next up, we have to deal with the big, powerful emotional chains. Because even after we've started to weaken our identification with the body, these deep emotional habits can still totally pull our strings.
These next two fetters are kamaraga and patiga. And you can think of these as the basic push and pull of our entire emotional life. Kamaraga is sensual craving, that constant pull toward pleasant sights, sounds, tastes, and feelings. And patiga is the exact opposite. It's ill will, aversion, the push away from everything we find annoying, painful, or frustrating. And the teachings have this brilliant metaphor for this. It says that chasing after pleasure is like trying to fill a leaky bucket. Sure, you might get a moment of fullness, but it just drains right out, leaving you thirsty and scrambling for the next hit. It's an endless, exhausting cycle.
Now, the goal here is not to become some kind of emotionless robot. The path is all about developing the wisdom to see the true nature of these feelings. When you really see deep down that pleasure is temporary and that anger is just a painful burden, they start to lose their grip on you. They just don't have the same power to control your life.
All right, now we move into the really subtle territory. Because even after you've started to tame those raw emotions, the most refined, tricky knots are still there. These are the ones that can challenge even the most dedicated practitioners.
So these last 5 are known as the higher fetters. First, you have Ruparaga and Aruparaga. This is a very subtle craving for the blissful, peaceful states you can get in deep meditation. It's like becoming addicted to feeling peaceful. Then there's mana, or conceit, and this isn't just obvious arrogance, it's the constant subtle habit of comparing. I'm better than, I'm worse than, I'm equal to. After that comes udhacha, which is a subtle restlessness. You know that feeling, like your mind is a web browser with way too many tabs open? That's it. And finally, we get to avijja, the deepest, most fundamental root of ignorance that all the other fetters grow from.
And this all leads to a pretty radical conclusion. The path requires letting go of, well, everything. That includes getting attached to peaceful feelings, to blissful states, and even to the idea that you've achieved something. The final insight is realizing that even these incredible states of mind are temporary, and so they can't be a final safe place to rest.
So after looking at all these chains, from the most obvious and coarse to the most subtle and refined, what does this whole journey of unbinding look like when we zoom out and see the big picture?
Here it is, a complete map of the path. You can see this really clear progression. It starts with those lower fetters, breaking that core illusion of a solid self. Then you move to the middle fetters, taming the big emotional forces of craving and aversion. And finally, it all culminates in releasing those higher, super subtle attachments of the mind, which is what leads to complete freedom.
And this, really, is the great takeaway. This whole path to liberation, it's not about gaining some new superpower or adding something to who you are. It's actually a process of subtraction. It is the courageous act of letting go, of removing the burdens and the constraints that were never really ours in the first place.
Just reflecting on that for a moment, it's not about judging yourself at all. It's just about bringing a gentle, honest awareness to the knots in your own heart. Because that awareness, that's always the first, most crucial step on this path of unbinding. Thank you for joining me for this explainer.